Well, if you were hurt in a car accident, no-fault insurance will pay certain benefits, but sometimes that's simply not enough. So in this week's Know the Law segment, attorney Dan James from Sinas Dramis talking to us today about when and how to maybe bring a separate auto negligence lawsuit together. And I guess, Dan, we're talking about two different types of damages in a crash usually, right?
Yeah, that's right. The first type of damages that an injured person can bring in an auto negligence suit is for non-economic damages, and that's for your pain and suffering, as well as for other quality of life losses that flow from your injuries. And the other type of damages is for excess economic damages, and these are economic damages that are not covered by your no-fault insurance. So for example, wage loss, while typically covered by no-fault, there are caps and there are limits on that. And so if your wage loss exceeds those caps and limits, then you can pursue those losses as well.
Obviously, you need to show that the other driver was at fault. Obviously, is that as easy or as difficult as it sounds, or talk about that?
Well, whether it's easy or difficult all depends on the case itself, but you're right, you have to show that the other driver is at fault, and some of the things that are taken into consideration would be violations of the motor vehicle code, things such as speeding, running a stop sign, running a red light, crossing the center line, things such as that. And one of the things to keep in mind is even if the injured person is somewhat responsible for the collision, that doesn't necessarily prohibit them from recovering any damages. In fact, an injured person's responsibility for the collision will lead to a reduction in the amount of damages they recover based on the percentage of responsibility, but they are only prohibited from recovering all non-economic damages if their responsibility is greater than 50%. And one other thing that needs to be shown to recover non-economic damages in a no-fault case is you need to have an injury that's serious enough. And this is called the threshold injury requirement. And there's three types of threshold injuries. There's a serious impairment of body function, a permanent serious disfigurement such as scarring, and of course death, which is the most serious injury you can sustain. And so when death is involved, you can bring a lawsuit under the Wrongful Death Act. That lawsuit is brought by the decedent's estate on behalf of their surviving spouses.
And that it's going to be paid by the at-fault driver's insurance company if you see them, almost always the case.
Generally that is the case, and they can be held responsible if they don't have enough coverage, and one way to protect yourself from uninsured and underinsured drivers is to buy that type of coverage.
Like an umbrella policy, maybe?
Well, it's purchased through your auto insurance, and it's relatively inexpensive, and we encourage people to buy it.
Good stuff. Real quickly, if we need to have some questions one way or another, how do we find you guys?
Well, I work out of our firm's Grand Rapids office, and our telephone number is 616-301-3333.
SinasDramis.com. Also a great way to learn for you guys. Thanks, Dan, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.